You see, we often think of God, or the universe, or whatever name you prefer, as a kind of cosmic fixer, a force that comes in, waves its hand, and tidies up the mess of our emotions, as if feelings are weeds in the garden of the soul. But what if these feelings, yes, even the unrelenting, complicated ones, are not weeds, but wildflowers? What if they are precisely the point? Feelings are often seen as inconvenient or troublesome, something to be avoided or suppressed, as if they are obstacles to our peace of mind or to a more orderly existence. Yet what if these feelings are not disruptions, but invitations? What if, rather than pushing them aside or trying to rid ourselves of them, we allowed them to teach us something? The idea that feelings are invitations to self-discovery invites a radical shift in perspective. Instead of viewing emotions as roadblocks, we can start to see them as signposts, guiding us deeper into our understanding of ourselves and the world around us. When we experience emotions, especially intense or unexpected ones, it's easy to think of them as unwelcome disturbances. Love, desire, anger, fear, and even sadness, these can seem like burdens. We try to control them, dismiss them, or wish them away because they disrupt our daily lives or challenge our sense of stability. We might believe that a life free of intense emotions would be a life of peace, balance, and ease. But this perspective overlooks the complexity of human existence. Emotions are not simply random reactions. They are signals. They are responses to our experiences, our thoughts, and our interactions with others. They offer valuable insights into who we are, what we care about, and what we need to address within ourselves. You, we, be, freedom, freedom. Consider for a moment the feeling of love. It's often seen as one of the most powerful and transformative emotions, but also one of the most perplexing. Love can be exhilarating, thrilling, and fulfilling, but it can also be painful, uncertain, and even heartbreaking. Yet when we look at love through the lens of self-discovery, we begin to realize that it's not just about the object of our affection. It's also about the depth of our own capacity for connection, vulnerability, and care. Love shows us what we value most, what we desire to nurture and protect, and what we are willing to risk in order to experience a deeper union with another. Instead of trying to escape the complexities of love, we can choose to delve into it and explore what it reveals about us. In this way, love becomes a teacher, helping us uncover truths about our inner selves. Similarly, when we experience negative emotions like anger or frustration, we may initially perceive them as something to eliminate or ignore. Yet anger, when examined closely, can be a powerful teacher. It's often a response to perceived injustice, unmet needs, or violations of personal boundaries. Instead of trying to suppress anger or pretend it doesn't exist, we can use it as a tool for reflection. What is this anger telling us about what we care about? What boundaries are being crossed, and how can we address them in a constructive way? Even the more subtle emotions, such as sadness or longing, can serve as invitations to self-discovery. These emotions often arise when we feel a sense of loss, separation, or unfulfilled desire. We might interpret sadness as a sign of weakness or failure, but what if it's a sign of something more profound? What if sadness points to the depth of our capacity to care, to love, and to feel deeply? Instead of pushing it away, we can choose to embrace it, to sit with it, and to explore what it teaches us about our desires and our experiences. In this way, sadness becomes a mirror, reflecting the beauty of our emotional lives and reminding us that we are deeply connected to the world around us. Emotions are not just passive experiences. They are active participants in our personal growth. They are constantly shaping our perceptions, guiding our decisions, and influencing the way we interact with others. We can ask ourselves, what does this feeling reveal about who I am? What can I learn from it? How can this experience help me grow? By approaching our emotions with curiosity rather than fear or avoidance, we can begin to unlock the wisdom they hold. In a world that often values efficiency, productivity, and emotional control, this approach may seem counterintuitive. We are taught to prioritize logic over feeling, reason over emotion, and to avoid vulnerability at all costs. But this mindset creates a divide between our emotional and intellectual selves, leaving us disconnected from the richness of our inner lives. When we allow ourselves to feel deeply and honestly, we bridge that gap. We become more integrated, more whole, and more attuned to the subtle energies that shape our experiences. Feelings are not just transient states to be moved through quickly. They are opportunities for deep connection with ourselves. The more we allow ourselves to feel without judgment or resistance, the more we open up to the vastness of our emotional landscape. And within this landscape lies the potential for profound transformation. Every emotion, whether it's joy or sorrow, love or fear, has something to offer. By recognizing that our feelings are invitations, we begin to see them as the teachers they truly are. Emotions are often perceived as reflections of our relationships with others. When we experience love, desire, anger, or even grief, we typically associate these feelings with someone or something outside of ourselves. We think of love as something we feel for a person, desire as something we experience in relation to an object or goal, and anger as a response to a particular action or injustice committed by another. While these associations are valid, they overlook a deeper truth. Emotions are also profound reflections of our own inner world. They are not merely reactions to external events, but rather they mirror the underlying currents of our own thoughts, beliefs, fears, and desires. Understanding that emotions reflect our inner world is essential for self-awareness and personal growth. When we find ourselves drawn to someone, perhaps in love or admiration, we often focus on the qualities of the other person that evoke these feelings. We may look at the way they speak, their physical appearance, their actions, or their personality traits, and we attribute our feelings of affection to these external qualities. But if we look deeper, we may begin to see that our feelings of love are not solely a response to the other person, but also a reflection of our own desires for connection, intimacy, and understanding. Love, in this sense, is not just about the other person. It is about the way we are able to connect with them, and more importantly, with ourselves. When we experience love, we are tapping into something within us that yearns to be shared, nurtured, and expressed. It is a reflection of our own capacity for empathy, compassion, and openness. Similarly, desire is often seen as something we feel toward a specific object or goal, whether it's material wealth, career success, or a particular experience. We tend to focus on the external thing we are striving for, believing that once we attain it, we will feel fulfilled or complete. But desire in its truest sense is not just about wanting something outside of us. It is about recognizing a deep longing or yearning within ourselves. The object of desire is merely the form that our inner need takes. If we look closely, we may realize that our desire is a reflection of a deeper hunger for meaning, purpose, or personal growth. When we pursue something passionately, we are often responding to an inner drive for self-actualization, and in the process, we uncover parts of ourselves that may have been hidden or neglected. Desire, in this sense, is not merely about acquiring, it is about discovering what lies within us and allowing it to unfold. Even emotions like anger, frustration, or resentment are not simply responses to external events or other people's behavior. While these emotions may arise in reaction to something someone else has done or said, they also reflect our own inner landscape. Anger is often rooted in a sense of injustice, violation, or frustration with unmet needs. When we feel angry, it is usually because something has triggered a deep-seated belief or expectation that has been violated. And rather than simply blaming the external event or person, we can use anger as an opportunity to examine our own values, boundaries, and expectations. What is it about this situation that has triggered such a strong emotional response? What does it reveal about our deeper beliefs or fears? Anger, when approached with self-awareness, can be a powerful tool for understanding ourselves and our relationships. Grief and sadness, too, are often seen as reactions to loss or separation from someone or something outside of us. We grieve when we lose a loved one, when a relationship ends, or when a cherished dream or goal is unfulfilled. While these external events certainly trigger our grief, the emotion itself is a reflection of our own emotional investment, attachment, and capacity for love. Grief, in many ways, shows us how deeply we care, how much we are able to connect and invest in the world around us. It reveals the depth of our emotional capacity and the strength of our bonds. By allowing ourselves to feel grief fully, we can gain insight into what truly matters to us, what we value most, and what we are willing to sacrifice or risk for the sake of connection. In each of these examples, love, desire, anger, and grief, the emotion itself is not merely a response to external events, but a reflection of the inner world that shapes how we experience the world. Our emotions are mirrors, reflecting back to us the beliefs, values, desires, and fears that lie beneath the surface. They are not separate from us. They are integral to our sense of self and our understanding of the world. But when we begin to view emotions in this way, we stop seeing them as external reactions and start recognizing them as internal signals, messages from our deeper self. Understanding that emotions reflect our inner world is an essential step in the journey of self-awareness. It invites us to explore our feelings with curiosity rather than judgment. Instead of dismissing our emotions as inconvenient or irrational, we can approach them as opportunities for deeper understanding. People tend to react on the very basis of what we call reason. By recognizing the ways in which our emotions reflect our own inner landscape, we can begin to unravel the layers of our own psyche and gain insight into the beliefs, values, and desires that shape our experiences. Far from being random or meaningless, our emotions become guides, signposts on the path of self-discovery and personal growth. End quote. Growth is a concept often associated with change, progress, and the pursuit of something greater. Yet many of us are conditioned to think of growth as something that happens only when we are comfortable, stable, and in control. We assume that growth is a result of success, achievement, and positive experiences. But in reality, growth is just as much about embracing discomfort, uncertainty, and even pain as it is about enjoying ease and success. The very essence of growth arises from our willingness to engage with the messiness of life, to face the challenges, the contradictions, and the discomforts that inevitably arise in the process of becoming more fully ourselves. It is through embracing these moments of emotional turbulence and uncertainty that we find the greatest opportunities for personal development. We often seek to avoid pain, to steer clear of difficult emotions, and to create environments that are predictable and safe. We live in a world that values efficiency, productivity, and certainty. We are taught that we must control our feelings and maintain a sense of composure at all times. But this desire for control often limits us. It keeps us from engaging with the full spectrum of human experience. It encourages us to suppress, deny, or overlook our emotions, especially the ones that feel uncomfortable or disruptive. Yet, if we look closely, we see that it is often these very emotions, anger, sadness, frustration, confusion, that hold the keys to our growth. When we encounter a challenging emotion, our first instinct is often to push it away. We want to rid ourselves of feelings of fear, anxiety, or sadness because they seem to be obstacles to happiness or peace of mind. However, this approach overlooks the deeper wisdom these emotions contain. These feelings are not simply inconveniences. They are signals, they are messengers, inviting us to examine our thoughts, beliefs, and patterns in order to understand what is holding us back or keeping us stuck. For example, when we experience anger, we may initially perceive it as a negative or destructive emotion. We might feel embarrassed by it, guilty for feeling it, or afraid of how others will react to it. But anger, when examined closely, can reveal a great deal about our boundaries, our values, and our sense of justice. It is often a response to something we perceive as unfair or unjust, either to ourselves or to others. For anger can signal that we need to assert ourselves, protect our space, or take action in a way that aligns with our deeper sense of integrity. Instead of rejecting or suppressing anger, we can use it as a catalyst for positive change. It is through the engagement with our anger, the understanding of its root causes, and the willingness to act in alignment with its energy that we discover new aspects of ourselves and grow. And to think about, similarly, sadness and grief, which are often viewed as signs of weakness or failure, can be profound catalysts for growth. When we experience loss, disappointment, or unfulfilled expectations, we may feel overwhelmed by sadness or despair. We may question the meaning of life or feel disconnected from others. But grief, when fully experienced, can lead to deep healing. It can teach us about the impermanence of life, the importance of human connection, and the resilience of the human spirit. It forces us to confront the things we hold dear and ask ourselves what truly matters. Through grief, we learn to let go of attachments, to release what no longer serves us, and to embrace the possibility of renewal. Rather than avoiding or numbing the pain of loss, we can use it as a tool for introspection and growth. It is through the process of grieving that we often come to understand ourselves more deeply and develop a greater appreciation for the fragility and beauty of life. Even confusion, uncertainty, and doubt can be powerful teachers on the path to growth. We tend to fear uncertainty because it feels uncomfortable and destabilizing. We crave certainty because it offers a sense of security and control. But uncertainty is often the fertile ground from which growth emerges. When we are faced with a difficult decision, an ambiguous situation, or a period of transition, we may feel lost or unsure of our next step. Yet, it is precisely in these moments of uncertainty that we are invited to trust ourselves, to embrace the unknown, and to surrender our need for control. It is in the space of not knowing that we open ourselves to new possibilities, new insights, and new directions. Personal growth, then, is not a linear or predictable process. It is not something that happens in a straight line or according to a set of predetermined rules. Growth is messy. It is cyclical. It involves setbacks, detours, and moments of doubt. But it is precisely in these moments of challenge that we are called to grow. When we allow ourselves to engage with the full spectrum of our emotions, when we sit with discomfort and embrace uncertainty, we create the conditions for transformation. We learn to trust ourselves more deeply, to expand our capacity for resilience, and to cultivate a greater sense of self-awareness. Growth happens when we stop avoiding the difficult emotions and instead allow them to be the teachers they are. We live in a world that values positivity and quick solutions, where emotions like sadness are seen as something to fix or move past as quickly as possible. The popular notion is that we should pursue happiness at all costs and minimize anything that disturbs that state of being. Yet what if sadness and longing are not just things to be endured or eliminated? What if they are invitations to explore deeper aspects of our lives, parts of ourselves that we tend to overlook or suppress? Instead of viewing these emotions as burdens, we could start seeing them as valuable messengers, leading us to deeper self-understanding and connection with others. Sadness, often a response to loss, disappointment, or unmet expectations, is one of the most common human experiences. Whether it's the death of a loved one, the end of a relationship, or the fading of a dream, sadness often arises when we are faced with a profound sense of disconnection or unfulfilled desire. We tend to resist it because it is uncomfortable, it feels heavy, and it challenges our sense of stability and well-being. However, when we allow ourselves to truly feel sadness without judgment or hurry to move past it, we begin to understand that it is not a sign of weakness or failure, but rather a reflection of how deeply we care about what we have lost. Sadness reveals our attachments, our values, and our capacity for love. It reminds us of what truly matters to us, what we have invested in, and what we are willing to give up or let go. It is through sadness that we are confronted with the impermanence of life and the importance of cherishing what we have while we have it. Rather than resisting sadness, we can lean into it, feeling its full weight, and in doing so, we learn to appreciate the depth of our emotional connections and the preciousness of time. Longing, too, is often seen as a form of emotional suffering. Longing arises when we desire something we do not have, whether it's a person, a place, a particular experience, or even a version of ourselves that we have yet to become. Longing can feel like a constant ache, a reminder of what is missing, what is incomplete. We may spend much of our time trying to ignore or suppress this longing, believing that once we acquire whatever it is we desire, we will finally feel fulfilled. But longing, much like sadness, can offer us profound insights if we allow ourselves to sit with it rather than escape from it. Longing reveals our deepest desires, our long-held dreams, and the aspects of ourselves that we have yet to actualize. God is all-knowing. It points to what we feel is lacking, but in doing so, it also highlights the possibility for growth, change, and expansion. Longing is not just about what is missing in our lives. It is about what could be. It is a reminder that we are not static beings. We are ever evolving, ever reaching for something greater. Instead of dismissing longing as a feeling that should be silenced, we can choose to listen to it, to explore the nature of our desires, and to use that energy to move toward a more authentic version of ourselves. Both sadness and longing can be difficult to sit with because they highlight what we feel we lack or what has been taken from us. They often reveal vulnerabilities we would rather not confront, our fears of inadequacy, loss, or not being enough. However, in acknowledging these emotions, we create the space for growth. Sadness teaches us to honor the things we have lost, but it also invites us to let go of what no longer serves us. Longing teaches us to recognize what we truly desire and pursue it, but it also reminds us that the pursuit of something does not mean the absence of fulfillment in the present moment. In fact, by embracing sadness and longing, we give ourselves permission to be human. We acknowledge that life is complex, that we are multifaceted beings, capable of experiencing a wide range of emotions, both uplifting and challenging. Sadness and longing allow us to touch the depths of our emotional lives, to connect with the rawness of our desires and the vulnerability of our hearts. In embracing these emotions, we cultivate a deeper understanding of who we are and what we truly seek in life. Rather than seeing sadness and longing as obstacles to happiness or peace, we can begin to see them as integral parts of the human experience. Emotions that, when fully felt and understood, lead us to greater authenticity. By leaning into the discomfort of sadness and longing, we can create space for healing and growth. These emotions, far from being destructive or negative, hold the potential to transform us. They are not signs of weakness, but rather signs of the depth of our capacity to feel, to care, and to live fully. In allowing ourselves to experience them without resistance, we open ourselves up to a deeper, more meaningful engagement with life. Love, in its many forms, is often viewed as something we give and receive between ourselves and others. It is celebrated as one of the highest human emotions, the force that connects us, that binds us to each other and to the world around us. When we experience love, we tend to attribute it to the people or things we hold dear, whether it's the love we feel for a partner, a child, a friend, or even a passion or pursuit that brings us joy. But love in its most profound sense is not confined to these relationships or objects. It is a universal force that flows through us, transcending the boundaries of time, space, and individual connection. When we realize that love is never wasted, that it is not limited to the people or things we direct it toward, we unlock a deeper understanding of its true power. Too often we attach conditions to our love. We love because we feel loved in return, or because someone fulfills certain expectations or needs in our lives. Love becomes transactional, a give and take that relies on external validation or reciprocation. When these conditions are met, love feels easy, and we may find ourselves fully immersed in its warmth and connection. Love stimulates us to speak, but when these conditions are not met, when love is unrequited, unreturned, or not acknowledged in the way we hoped, our sense of love may falter. We may feel rejected, hurt, or disconnected, questioning the value of our love and wondering if it was ever truly meaningful. However, we begin to realize that love is not something we possess and give away. It is something that emanates from us, that flows outward into the world. touching people and experiences in ways we may never fully understand. In this way, love is never wasted. Even when it is not returned in the way we desire, it still has value. The love we give to others, whether it is received or not, has the potential to transform not just our own lives, but the lives of those around us. When we express love, we create ripples of connection and possibility. Even if someone does not acknowledge or return our love, it can have an impact on them in ways we cannot see or measure. Love in this sense operates beyond the transactional framework we often impose on it. It is not about a direct exchange or an expectation of reciprocity. It is about the act of giving itself. The energy of love ripples outward, affecting people, places, and circumstances in ways that transcend our immediate understanding. Moreover, love is never wasted because it is not confined to specific moments or interactions. When we love, that love continues to resonate long after the moment has passed. Every expression of love, every act of kindness, every moment of care lingers in the hearts of those it touches. Even if the person we love is no longer in our lives, the love we gave continues to live on in the memories, in the energy it left behind. Love, when given freely, has the power to transcend time. It continues to affect people long after the initial connection has faded, or even when the relationship itself has ended. The love we share with others remains with them, woven into the fabric of their lives, and in turn, it becomes part of the larger web of human connection. In addition, love is never wasted because it is, in many ways, an expression of the divine. It is an energy that connects us not only to each other, but to the universe itself. When we love, we are tapping into a force that is greater than ourselves. It is through love that we experience a sense of unity, a sense of oneness with all of existence. Love transcends the individual, and in this way, it is inherently infinite. It is not bound by the limitations of time, space, or form. Love is the force that sustains life, that gives meaning to our existence, and that connects us to something larger than ourselves. When we give love, we are participating in this larger flow, contributing to the collective energy of life itself. No love, no matter how small or fleeting, is ever lost in this grand cosmic dance. Even in the moments when love feels unfulfilled or goes unreturned, it is still part of this larger process. We may feel as though our love has been wasted if it is not reciprocated in the way we desire, but in truth, love is never wasted. It continues to expand and evolve, transforming us as individuals and contributing to the larger flow of life. When we love, we are participating in a greater cycle, one that stretches beyond our immediate experience and connects us to the infinite potential of the universe. The realization that love is never wasted frees us from the need to control or quantify love. It releases us from the desire to measure love's impact or to demand that it be returned in a specific form. Love, in this sense, is not something we give and receive in a linear, transactional way. It is something that is part of us, part of everything, and part of the divine flow of existence. We often look to external circumstances to define who we are, to establish our sense of worth, or to understand our place in the world. From our careers, relationships, and accomplishments to the way others perceive us, we tend to identify ourselves through the roles we play and the labels we wear. However, The core of who we are is not found in any of these external markers. It is not tied to what we do, what we have, or how others see us. True self-awareness, true understanding of who we are, comes from a deeper place within. It is found in the quiet moments of self-reflection, in the moments when we step outside of the noise and distractions of daily life and simply allow ourselves to be. In these moments, we reconnect with our authentic self, the part of us that exists beyond the roles we take on or the expectations placed upon us. The external world offers many opportunities for validation and recognition, but these external validations are fleeting. We may receive praise, rewards, or admiration for something we accomplish or create. But these moments of external acknowledgement do not define us. They are temporary, and when they fade, so can our sense of worth if we rely too heavily on them. If our identity is rooted in the approval or disapproval of others, we are subject to constant fluctuations, constantly swaying between feelings of accomplishment and inadequacy. We come to understand that our value is intrinsic, not based on what we achieve or what others think of us, but based on the simple fact that we exist and that we are inherently worthy, regardless of anything we do or don't do. This realization allows us to shift our focus from constantly striving to prove our worth to simply being present with ourselves, with our own experience. We begin to understand that we do not need to prove anything, not to ourselves or to anyone else. We can simply exist in the world without the pressure to achieve, to impress, or to perform. In this space, we start to understand that the essence of who we are is not contingent upon any action or role we undertake. Our worth is not determined by the things we accomplish or the successes we attain. It is an inherent part of our being, present within us at all times. When we understand that our sense of self is not defined by external forces, we also come to realize that our emotions are not dictated by the circumstances around us. Too often, we allow our feelings to be influenced by what is happening externally. We become angry or upset because of something someone else has done or said. We feel joy or contentment based on something outside of ourselves. A compliment, a promotion, a vacation, or a relationship. These emotional responses are valid, but they are also temporary. When we rely on external circumstances to shape our emotions, we are constantly at the mercy of the outside world. However, when we learn to detach our emotional well-being from external events and situations, we gain a deeper sense of inner peace and stability. Our emotions, rather than being reactions to external events, become reflections of our own inner landscape. We become more attuned to what is happening inside of us and less reliant on what is happening around us. This shift allows us to experience life more fully, with greater freedom and less fear of being tossed around by the unpredictable nature of the world. This deeper understanding of ourselves also allows us to experience a greater sense of freedom in our relationships. We often seek validation from others, whether it's from a romantic partner, family member, or friend. We want to be seen, understood, and appreciated for who we are. While these desires are natural, they can sometimes lead us to compromise our authenticity in an attempt to gain approval or avoid rejection. When we are no longer dependent on others for our sense of self-worth, we are free to show up in relationships as our authentic selves. We no longer need to conform or pretend in order to be accepted. Instead, we can engage with others from a place of honesty and openness, knowing that our worth is not contingent on their approval. This shift in perspective allows for deeper, more meaningful connections, as we are able to interact with others not from a place of need, but from a place of genuine connection and mutual respect. The deeper we connect with our authentic selves, the more we realize that our true nature is not defined by any single moment, experience, or external event. We are not our past mistakes, our successes, or even the roles we have played. We are not the labels we wear or the achievements we accumulate. We are not defined by what others think of us, nor by how we perceive ourselves in relation to the world, nor by how we perceive ourselves in relation to the world. Our true self is the constant, unchanging essence that exists within us at all times. It is the part of us that is always present, regardless of what happens in our lives. This part of us is not subject to the fluctuations of emotions, nor to the rise and fall of external circumstances. It simply is. When we learn to connect with this deeper part of ourselves, we begin to experience life in a completely new way. We no longer seek validation or approval from the outside world, because we realize that our worth is not tied to what we do or what others think of us. We no longer need to prove ourselves, because we understand that we are already whole, complete, and worthy just as we are. In this space, we experience a deep sense of peace and contentment, knowing that our value is not dependent on anything external, but is intrinsic to our very being. This understanding allows us to live more fully, to experience greater freedom, and to embrace life with open arms, regardless of the circumstances.